Hi friends, it's Miss Joy. Today we need a pencil, some free draw paper or printer paper, a ruler, doesn't matter if it's wooden or plastic or metal, any ruler, crayons or color pencils. And when we're using a ruler, we're going to be using the straight line of the edge here. We don't need to do any measurements or pay attention to the numbers, but we should never be bending them. We should never be using them as a sword. We are going to only be using them as a drawing tool. When I am using my paper, it does not matter for this project if it is horizontal. Sometimes we call this landscape, or vertical, or sometimes we call this portrait. Because the video is horizontal, I'm going to turn my paper horizontal, but you're the artist, you get to choose. I am going to draw a large shape in the center of my page. I suggest a heart, but you can do any shape you want. And I'm taking up a very large section of my paper. The outside edges of my paper are going to be straight lines all the way across, but we don't want those lines to go through our shape. What I'm doing when I hold my ruler is my fingers are away from the very edge right here where my pencil is going to go. So they're spread out far apart so that I can hold my ruler from moving. Once I draw my line, I don't want my ruler to move. I'm going to hold it with my fingers spread out, but they're back away from the edge because this is where my pencil needs to go. I'm going to press straight down to the table with my fingers. Then I'm going to make my line, but I want to pick up the pencil when I go across the shape. Your shape might not be a heart, but it can be any shape you like. A simple shape is the best for this project. And every time I make my line, I'm lifting up my pencil when I go across my shape. And I'm just eyeballing the distance between my lines and shifting my ruler down so that it's not going up a hill or down a hill. And I'm kind of moving it to figure out if that's where I want my line. I'm imagining that I'm drawing the line before I press down really hard with my ruler so it doesn't move. Do you notice how my fingers are pressing straight down to the table and they're all spread all the way out? That's going to give me more hold on my ruler so that when I'm drawing my line, I'll show you what I don't want to happen. If I'm not pressing down and holding it nicely, my ruler's gonna move while I'm drawing. I'm going to line up my ruler to where that line was and then keep going. Move it down a little. Did you spy what happened? My ruler moved. I better stop and fix it and then keep going. Friends who are really struggling might work with their partner, the neighbor next to them at your table spot. Someone else could help you hold the ruler while you make your lines if you need extra hold and support. But I would like you to at least try by yourself first so that you get comfortable with holding the ruler and making the lines. Keep going until your whole background is like lined paper that you would write a note or a letter on. Keep going with about the same distance between each line, but it does not have to be exact or measured out. The inside of the shape, what you're going to do is make a line that bows gently down. Not like a rainbow, or an upside down U, but not a straight line. So a very gentle curve, kind of like a frowny face. And everywhere this line joins my shape is where I'm going to start my line that curves down. The shape of the heart is a little tricky because there's this gap in here, but the idea is that I want it to look like the heart or my shape is raised up away from the paper. This is a trick to fool the eye. So three-dimensional drawing means sometimes we have to use our imagination while we're drawing. We're going to curve that line and meet the straight line at the edges. Point to point. If you make a mistake, it's helpful if you're drawing lightly so that you can erase it more easily. So do yourself a favor and draw light till you get it right. So what can I do differently here? I drew this like this to help you understand how tricky it gets if you do a more complicated shape. For example, a star would have a lot of points coming in, just like the top of a heart, which can be much more tricky. So I want to make sure that even if there's a gap in my shape, that my lines are always connecting back to the straight line. So in this heart, I need to make sure this bows up and connects to my straight line. Here is where the straight line ends. I'm going to bow up and connect to this straight line. So you can spy how my mistakes made it look like it wasn't as three-dimensional as it could have been. Right here, my line is going to start, bow up, and connect to the same line. So if I was drawing with my ruler, that would be the same line that connects. It all attaches to the same spot. So here it got a little confusing because that's where my heart didn't bow twice. So how could I fix that? I could either do two little tiny bows up, or I could just do one big arc like I did here. Use your best judgment and be flexible. Go with the flow. If you get frustrated, stop and take a breath, have a mindful moment, and then try again. Don't give up. So your job is to draw this out with pencil, with straight lines in the back and a gentle bowing arch. Not a full rainbow shape, but not a straight line inside your shape. If you get farther, you can start to color it in any colors you choose. I would like you to make a pattern. Your pattern could go red, purple, red, purple, red, purple, red, purple. Your pattern could go red, white, blue, red, white, blue, red, white, blue. It is completely up to you, but your job is to color this in a pattern, making sure that where your lines connect, you're using the same color. Now, what did I do wrong here? This line is going to be blue, and this line is going to be blue. That is wrong. So now, to avoid making that mistake, because I don't want to have a blue and a blue twice, what I suggest you do instead is start coloring the outside first. If my pattern was red, white, blue, red, white, blue, Then you can follow your pattern into the shape, and you know that this is the section that should have been blue. Okay, so because I made this mistake on purpose so that you could see how tricky it gets a little confusing, I would suggest you start your pattern coloring in on the outside background first. That way you could follow right into the shape. The background will tell you what line should be what color. So I'm gonna do another one quickly to show you a very small one so that you can understand. Again, I'm gonna speed up the video so you can watch it from scratch quickly, and then you can begin your own. If it's easier for you to make your line go all the way across and then erase it later, that's okay. Just make sure that you're drawing lightly enough that it's easy to erase. Yours should fill the whole paper, like my first example. I'm only doing this one very small so that you don't have to watch me do mine all day long. You can have time to do your own. So you can make your patterns more complicated, but your job is to fill the whole paper. So if that means you only get as far as pencil today, then we can do the coloring in next class. All right, have fun, go ahead.